This mother of five took the life of her children's abuser. Oh, hi there, stranger. Today I'm going to be telling you about the case of Sarah Sands. Viewer discretion is advised. Trigger warning, today's case does involve the SA of children. So if you want to skip, of course, I totally understand. But if you're staying with me, then let's get to it. Sarah Sands was a 32-year-old mum of five living in East London with her kids. She had had a struggle to secure their accommodation, so once they were housed permanently, Sarah got stuck into life in her new community, and so did her children. They got to know what they thought was the kindly older man that ran the newsagents, a 77-year-old called Michael Plested. What Sarah did not know was that Plested was an S offender with 24 convictions for essaying boys between 1970 and 1991. His sentences ranged from 9 months to 6 years and included indecent assault on a male aged under 14, on a male aged under 16, and on a male aged over 16, and buggery. I believe he had changed his name from Robin Malt and then moved on to this estate, which was full of families. Nobody was notified of Michael Plested's true identity, and he, of course, told no one. Plested was a well-known figure on the estate because of his position in the newsagents, and it wasn't long before Sarah struck up a friendship with him. She would cook him meals and keep him company sometimes, and then he would offer her 12-year-old son a Saturday job in the newsagent. Plested lived just over the way from Sarah and her children. You could see the one home from the other. In reality, Plested, or Malt, was grooming Sarah's children and would go on to SA three of them, her 12-year-old son and her two 11-year-old twin boys. The twins would tell their mum what had happened, followed a week or so later by their older brother, and Plested would be arrested for it, but he was bailed and allowed to return home to the estate. Can you imagine the man that did that to your kids, that abused your trust and their vulnerability, just moved straight back into the house over the road? In an attempt to keep this predator away from her boys, Sarah moved herself and her children into her mother's house, but it was small and of course they couldn't stay there forever. Sarah said she felt so guilty that it was her job to protect her boys and she felt she had failed to do so. Plested pled not guilty, thus further traumatizing this family because now the children would have to endure a trial. Sarah's anguish must have just been immense, unfathomable really. And so on the evening of the 28th of November 2014, after Sarah had had a drink, she decided to go over to Plested's to try to reason with him. She wanted him to admit to his crimes and spare her children the further pain that a trial would bring. But when she arrived, she wasn't greeted by the usual Plested that she was used to. Instead, now he was showing his true colours. He showed no remorse, smirking at Sarah, telling her children were liars and accusing them of ruining his life. A 77-year-old man, unquestionably a predator, laughing in the face of the mother whose children's lives he had tainted irreparably, accusing them of ruining his life. Sarah would later say that she had been scared to go to Plested's house to have this visit, but she felt it was her duty. She needed to try for her children. She just wanted to reason with him. She wanted him to spare her kids any further pain and the trauma that a trial would bring. But she was scared to go, and so in her fear, she armed herself with a sharp implement. When he reacted to her pleas with such arrogance and disregard for what he had put her children through, Sarah lost control of herself and of her emotions, and she impaled Plested 8 times before leaving his home. He didn't make it. Sarah would hand herself into the police a few hours later. Highly distressed and remorseful, she admitted all responsibility for what she had done. She didn't get rid of any evidence, in fact, taking the weapon with her when she handed herself in, and she did not once try to cover up any aspect of her crime. She was remanded in custody to await trial. She gave evidence in defence of herself, crying as she stated, quote, I was frightened. It was not how it was meant to go. He was supposed to listen to me. Up until she found out what he had done to her children, she had thought they were friends, don't forget. So she would have got the real Plested that night, and I don't doubt her for 1 second when she said she was frightened. She must have been terrified. But she was a brave mother in my eyes, and she was trying to do what she could in a last-ditch attempt to protect her kids from this pond life. After what he'd done, I cannot blame her. I cannot find 1 ounce of sympathy for Plested in this case, only for Sarah and, of course, her children. The jury deliberated for 3 days before returning a verdict of not guilty for M, instead finding Sarah guilty of manslaughter. The judge found it fit to sentence Sarah to 3.5 years in prison. He took into account all that I've already told you and said that Sarah had not rationally thought through what taking a sharp to Plested's home might lead to. Although he also said, quote, "I am sure the possibility of its use was in her mind." I thought that sentence was fair. Vigilantism is a dangerous thing, as is mob mentality, but I don't think in this case this was a planned act of vigilantism. I think it was a scared mum trying to protect her babies. Unfortunately, it was taken back to court as the sentence was ruled to be unduly lenient, and Sarah's sentence was increased to 7.5 years. Sarah served nearly 4 years in prison, which of course means her sons spent a large portion of their childhoods without her. They said that they felt safer knowing that Plested was not alive, but that it was really hard having to spend that time without their mum. I personally am so gutted for this family, how terribly the system failed them. Because in my view, Plested should not have been there from the start. 24 convictions. I personally do not disagree with what Sarah did. She did make the streets safer, and not only for her own children, for all children. In my opinion, time served should have done it, those 10 months on remand. And that is the story of Sarah Sands, an incredibly brave woman who did the only thing left in her power to protect her children and then took her punishment on the chin. Her eldest son said hats off to her, and I would like to second that. After her release from prison, Sarah would campaign for new legislation to prevent S offenders from being able to change their names. In 2024, the government confirmed that a ban on S offenders changing their names will be brought into force in England and Wales. I don't know if it has happened yet or when it will happen. I can't believe it took this to make that happen. But fair play to Sarah Sands. I'm just so gutted that she had to spend that time in prison and that her kids had to spend that time away from her. Please, as ever, let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, if you've stayed with me up until now, then thank you for watching, and I will see you for the next one.